Alright, good afternoon. Welcome to New York session. I hope you're doing well. Let's start with the dollar index. So we had yesterday dollar index rejecting, forming the potential low of the week on Thursday. And then during the New York session they broke structure here. I actually got a scalp on British pound with the break of structure, and on the 15 minutes on the 5 minutes I had a nice move from here, and I was aiming for that as a target for yesterday, but it couldn't quite get there. So the corresponding trade was British pound, which during the New York session I sold this gap here, and funny enough I'm still riding that. I've taken partial, but I'm still riding the rest. So let's see. I think maybe they might go for this low. They might trade and close in this gap. So this level and that, and the next one, which is right here. So that's what I think price is reaching for this afternoon, and then that will be it for the week. If we rally to the upside, I will expect a quick rejection to come and trade to this level. So ideally I think the week is done. So going into next week, or probably by the close of the day and the close of the week, it will give us an idea of how next week is gonna trade. So yeah, I wouldn't do anything as of this afternoon, making potentially the closure of the week most important thing, which is we are rejecting a previous week low. So next week might come for these previous weeks. We are rejecting a previous week high with such a big candle. So next week they might be coming for the low, especially this one and that one. All right. And in terms of potential pullback areas, they can pull back to this gap and then aim for this low. That's if we close as we are. Same thing applies to the euro. So if we go into the weekly, we are rejecting off from this candle's low, which is a breaker on the monthly. So let's see if this today can at least drop below this candle's low. But euro is still bullish, hence this gap can hold and then send price high again. So next week I'll probably look for price to trade in here. Alright, on Monday I'll expect price to trade in here and then make another move to the upside. Okay. Dollar yen, from the weekly perspective, we've taken out the previous week high, hence next week might look for the previous week low, which is this low here. And on the H4 we might pull back a little bit higher, either to this volume imbalance or maybe up here, right here, and then we will expect a continuation to the downside. Okay, so that'll be for next week, because they rejected last week high and then rejected, and this week is closing like that. So next week we want to see them go up and then come back down. Gold, eventually we took out this high, and looking at how this week is closing, I think we may be making a run for 3,005. This high here, the all-time high, we may be making a run for that. So look for a continuation to the upside on the gold market, probably not entirely convinced, because the week hasn't closed yet. However, with what is currently happening, there's a high probability it's gonna close like that. Okay, there's a high probability it's gonna close like that. Hence, we might be expecting a continuation. Which will give us a pullback maybe to this gap for the low of the week before we continue going up. So next week you want to look for market to open, drop down, and then we go up. Okay, and definitely I'll be here and we'll be observing price together. Okay, next up, crude oil. So I think yesterday I talked about this candle during the New York session, that if we close above that 1 hour gap, then price will go up, because that will potentially be a reaccumulation. They did nicely over there, and then overnight we had I don't know what happened, but we had a screamer, and we did go and trade to this order block here, but to me that is not the kind of candle that price usually prints during the time that everybody's sleeping. So that might have been manipulation. So if we close as we are, next week I'm not touching this, because I don't like the way the price action looks like. It might probably consolidate a little bit next week, hence I will not be interested in trading this next week, unless I see something maybe during the New York session, and then I might scalp it or day trade it. But to determine what price is going to do for the entire week, I will not be quite sure, because of how price moved during the Asian session. So if I'm going to trade it, it will be during the New York session, and that will be just scalping. And then finally ES, I was suspecting them to reject a gap here yesterday, but they went up, and as they went above it, I was looking for it for them to go and make a new high before they drop, but that didn't happen. So as it stands, let's see how today is gonna close, because it's rejecting previous week high again. So we rejected 1, 2, 3, 4 highs, right? So anytime it makes a high, it rejects, but it's not displacing to the downside. So what is left is a displacement. We kind of had it, but then it has pulled back into that range again. So this New York session, I want to see a rejection of from where we are, this down candle. I want to see price reject from here and go and attack this low, or at least minimum close below this candle's low. Okay, if we can close below that candle's low, that would be good enough. That would be good enough for next week potential move to attack previous week low. So maybe this New York session, this would be a pair that I'll watch and see if I can get a nice fair value gap forming, and then I'll play with it. All right, so that is that for the currencies. Let's move on to okay. Let's go to cryptocurrencies because some stuff are happening over here. Okay, so let's start with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has traded through the fair value gap, which I was surprised to see it. I was surprised to see that. Okay, so now it has changed the dynamics of what price is looking to do, but I personally think it's a run against anyone that is looking to buy. I think it's a run. We broke above here, so this is still a pullback. The only problem is the fact that they were able to trade through that imbalance. So I'm expecting them to go back up again, this low to this high, back down. I'm seeing it as a pullback, and I'm expecting them to go back up again. Okay, and that would mean the other pairs or the other cryptos is likely gonna do the same thing. So the Ethereum market, this will also go back up. So I'm seeing this as a pullback, and then it'll go back up again. Hype, same thing. Hype is so bullish, it's unbelievable. It's still respecting that gap, so a continuation to the upside is possible. XRP has killed me twice. So yesterday I was buying this gap with my stop loss here, with the framework that they were going to respect it and go up. So at the time of the purchase, this candle was almost closing above it. Okay, this candle was almost closing above it. So I was anticipating that they were going to close, and then this one will just resume going up. And I moved away from the screen. I didn't see none of this by the time I realized that had happened. So I got stopped out here, which is fine. But the fact that they've traded through this gap, it's a problem. Okay, not a big problem, but it is a problem, because gaps are meant to be held, not broken through. So unless we climb back above the gap, price can come for the low again. Okay, so we need price to climb back above this gap on a daily close basis. Okay, we need price to close back above it on a daily close basis. Then I'll be convinced you're going up. If not, then they might come for this low one more time before maybe a rejection. And then touch key is bullish. I think the gap is there. It's either they will pull back into it, or this will be a reaccumulation. So expect a continuation to the upside on Chachki, especially if they can close above the previous week high for this week. Now today is Friday, so how the week is gonna close is very, very important. If we can get a close above previous week high, then that will be important. And all the other currencies, let's go to AI16. So AI16 is still within that weekly range, so we are still within the realm of a pullback. What I want to see is for price to not close like this for this week. Okay, I want to see it reject the previous week low. So between today and Sunday, a rejection to start coming back up again will be necessary. If we're gonna go up, I think it will be necessary for them to come back and close above the previous week low. So watch it. If you start seeing any big push, the idea is for them to close back above the previous week low, and that will give us confidence that next week we will start going back up again. Yet again, it's still cheap, so if you want to buy, you're more than welcome. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I don't think there's any news event. Let me double check. There's a news event at 3 p.m. News event that will be on the dollar index, consumer sentiment, and then inflation expectation at 3 p.m. That can be a late afternoon drama, so just be aware there's that news event. I don't know what they're going to use that for, but in my opinion, upside is still possible, because we reverse on Thursdays. Thursdays reversals are key, so with that news event, I'll probably anticipate one more push to the upside. Okay, so that's all for now. I'll see you on Monday same time, and then we go again. Until then, take care.